This is Mr. Oman. We're going to be drawing the mechanical arm today using Inventor software. I need you to download and open the direction PDF file, rotate it until it's upright, and begin. There are 19 parts that we're going to draw. The first 5 of them are all these wooden dowels, look like sticks. Okay, and you'll be drawing them as part files in Inventor, as I'm showing here. And you'll get pretty used to the routine here. We'll start a sketch, we'll draw a circle, finish the sketch, and extrude it. So the first one, I'm going to use the vertical XY plane for my sketch. Draw a circle on it, 0.5 diameter. Finish the sketch and extrude it 12 inches. Okay, I am going to do this pretty fast, so feel free to pause the video here at any time. I'm going to keep things moving along here pretty quick as I go through this video. Alright, so make sure you do a file save as, create a folder for yourself, most likely in Student Share or Student Home. I right-clicked, picked new folder, and I'm now typing a folder name, and I'm inside that folder. This is problem number 1 or part 1, so I'll just hit save, and it's going to be called part 1. Okay, start a new part and scroll down to part number 2. Again, I'm going to go pretty quick here. These are very similar, same steps over and over. Start a new sketch. Draw a circle of 0.5, finish sketch, extrude, type your length in. Okay, so the first 5 here will look like this. Okay, if the name part 2 is listed, you should be able to just hit save, and it saves it in that folder. This is part 3. .375 this time, and a 4.5-inch extrusion to finish it. Okay, on to part number 4, 0.375 diameter again. Looks like a 3-inch extrusion. Okay, it says requires 2 here on part number 5. We're only going to draw 1. Later on, when we get to putting all these parts together, you'll need 2 copies of this. But that's at the end of the project, so only draw 1 right now. So 0.25 diameter, 0.75 extrusion. Don't worry about the requires 2. Okay, so we've already got 5 parts created. On to number 6. Here's the first one where we're not drawing a cylinder. Okay, you start a sketch on the XY vertical plane. We'll just draw our way around the outsides. The angled edge there, we don't know what that angle is, so we'll just connect the endpoints of the lines around it. I'm drawing the bottom edge 4.25, now the left edge, which is 3.25 up. Okay, I can't draw the angle just yet. I have to get in, finish all the other lines around it. Now I can connect the dots. Okay, and I'm going to extrude it 0.25. and a save. Okay, on to part number 7. I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle. And notice there's 2 measurements. The first one is the length of 5, then I press the tab button on the keyboard and I type 1.5 for the other one and enter. Okay, to round over the corners with a radius of 0.75, I pick the Filat button and I have to type in that 0.75 setting. Looks like I hit the enter key too early. I got to do it again. 0.75, click your corner, and the enter key to finish it off. Finish sketch, extrude 0.25. Okay, save it. File save as. Part 7. Now you can close it and move on down to part number 8. I'll do the horizontal plane this time because this is the base or the platform that your mechanical arm sits on. So that's the way it'll be oriented in space when you get done. If you picked a different plane, it could still work. But this would be the best choice. So I drew a rectangle 11.25 by 11.25, extruded it 0.75, and I saved it. Okay, we're on to part number 9. Okay, there's a little bit of missing information. I made a mistake on the directions here. This thing is 0.75 thick. That's not showing, but it should be. So draw your rectangle. 1.5 square, tab 1.5, enter, draw your circle. So I'm finding kind of the midpoint and letting Inventor guide me out there with the dashed lines to draw my centered circle of 0.5 diameter. And you can extrude this again, that should say 0.75 thick. And OK. Okay, that one is saved now. On to number 10. Okay, it's 0.75 thick. It's a rectangle. We're going to round the corners with a fillet. Use the horizontal plane to draw a rectangle. I'm drawing 5.5, tab 3.5. Right there, mine's turned from the way it shows in the space on the directions, but that's okay. Radius 1.75 on my fillet. Round those over. Hit enter. Okay, this circle, this is not centered, and that's okay. So it will be 1.5 by 1.5 from the corner. So we'll dimension that here in a moment. That circle looks like it's 0.5 diameter. So measure from an edge to the center point and correct that to say 1.5 with your dimension tool. Okay, now it's in the correct spot, a little bit off center. Extrude 0.75. Okay, that was part 10, the sub base. Okay, we're onto the finger actuator clamp, part number 11. Alright, we're going to draw a rectangle 3 by 1.5. 3 tab 1.5. Enter. Round over your corners. Fillet 0.75. Okay, you can put your circles using those center points of the arcs. We got a 0.95. This is where one of the syringes will go. So these larger 0.95 holes are meant for that. It's got to type 0.95, enter. And the smaller one, a wood dowel, one of your 0.5 diameter dowels will go through that other smaller hole when you build it. And you can extrude 0.75. There it is, and 11 is done. Oh, I'm sorry, we still have the hole on top here to do yet. Okay, that will be centered. It's 0.19 deep diameter, I'm sorry, and it's 0.75 deep. So 0.19 diameter and an extrusion depth of 0.75. Okay, I'm centering it. It's 0.375 in from the edge. And I will cut that in to a depth of 0.75. Okay, we're on to part number 12. So we'll start a sketch here on the end. This is for the hole that goes all the way through. It's diameter 0.375 and I'm dimensioning it 0.625 from the end. It should be centered vertically. Okay, and that is on that long face. Have it extrude and cut all the way through. Okay, next up we'll round over the corners using the 3D fillet option. You do have to type in your radius, which I can't see until I do that. So 0.25 is my round over radius. Pick your edge and you should be able to hit OK. Right there. Okay, on the other ends we have one more hole to cut in. Let's get it right on that center line. 0.5 diameter, 0.625 deep. Alright, I'm using the point tool here, putting a point in place. If you'd rather draw a circle and extrude it, that's fine. And type in your measurements into the hole command over here. You can see I getting my settings all fixed up here. Feel free to pause and match your settings with mine. And hit OK. And this part is all done. Alright, on to our next part. So our rectangle is 3.5 by 1.5, and I'm rounding it over with a 0.75 radius fillet, and I'm putting a 0.375 diameter hole on the center. Finish sketch, extrude 0.75. Okay, on the side we have one hole to do. We got to get it centered, and that hole is 0.375 diameter, and it's, I have to do a little bit of math here to figure this one out. It's 1.5 from the bottom, or you could dimension it from the top, which tells you 2 inches, but right now it's not letting me select that very top edge because it's curved. So a long way to get there. It's dimension from the start of the curve right there, and you should have 1.25. So there's a couple of different ways to dimension that and get the same result. And you can cut that. That goes halfway into your block, which is 0.75 deep. Alright, this block is done. Alright, we are on to number 14. Alright, so there's some measurements for you. So 4.5 by 1.5 is our rectangle, rounded over with 0.75 fillets, and the 2 circles are centered and dimensioned 0.75 from the end. And this one is a little larger, 0.95 diameter, and from the bottom end 3.25. Finish sketch and extrude 0.75. And there it is, all done. That was part 14, the yoke base. Part number 15. Okay, our rectangle here is 6 by 1.5. Round over is 0.75. Okay, 0.95 diameter, and dimension from the bottom 5 inches. .75 extrusion. And you can save this one. It's part 15. And we're on to part 16 now. Okay, this one can be a little bit more tricky for people. Alright, I'm going to draw the outside edge starting on the left end of the block. Okay, work my way around the outside edge. For this angled line, I go up and over. I draw kind of a triangle with the dimensions that are given. So 1 inch up, ½ inch over. I'm sorry, 0.75 up, ½ inch over. Then I connect the ends and delete the original lines there. Feel free to re-watch this if you need to see how I did that again. I'll add the circles, they line up. 0.95 diameter. 3 of them. I'll dimension these later to make them correct. Okay, 0.75 extrusion. And we'll start a sketch on the little flat ends down here. And we'll draw the last holes in and get those dimensioned correctly. Those holes are all 0.19 diameter and they go all the way through. We're only going to do the 2 that are closest to the ends. We're going to skip the 2 that are in the middle that are showing in the top view. When we actually make this in the shop, those 2 middle holes won't get used, so we won't bother drawing them here. Okay, and we can extrude and cut these all the way through. Okay, we'll skip those remaining holes. They're not needed. Save your work and move on to part 16. Excuse me, that was part 16. We're going on to 17 now. Okay, we're going to draw another rectangle of 1.75 by 1.5. So 1.75 tab, 1.5 enter is what I'm typing here. Okay, mine is sitting in a different direction than the views on the directions, but that's okay. Okay, we'll round the corners first. Okay, 0.375 round over. Okay, we got the two holes going, and dimension, we're extruding 0.75 here. Okay, one more sketch. Two more sketches actually. Okay, we'll do the hole in the end first. Okay, this will be centered. So we'll be using a point. We'll place a point right in the center. We'll use the hole tool. So it's centered, which means it is 0.75 from the right end. Finish sketch, find the hole tool. Okay, type in your settings. 0.5 diameter, 0.625 deep. Okay, this should be a nice straight simple hole. Okay, now I'm going to have a sketch on the side, and we're going to cut away a rectangle. This will pass right through those holes that we've already done. Make sure you dimension this correctly. 0.1875 on the sides. 0.37 wide. 0.375 wide is how wide the rectangle is. Extrude, cut that through, and this part is all done. Okay, we're into the parts 18 and 19. They're all the same part. Eventually this gets cut apart into two separate fingers. We'll treat it as one part. We'll call it part 18 and 19. Okay, I'm using the horizontal flat surface. I'm going to draw my way around the outside edge, starting here. And I'll leave the most complicated area till the very end. So right now I'm just following the dimensions given around the outside. The angled corners, I draw up and over, I create the triangle, and I come back with the diagonal right here. This allows me to hit escape and click on each of those lines and select them and delete them. Okay, here comes another corner triangle. Another corner. Angle it back, delete. And straight up. Okay, once you get this line done, you have to stop drawing the outside edge and take care of the circles. Okay, all these measurements coming up are 0.375. The spaces, the diameters, I'm sorry, the spaces themselves are 0.375. So I'm drawing a little temporary line, both up and down. These will get deleted in a moment. This just gets me to where I want my circle to be. 0.25 diameter. Okay, now I'm going to delete those lines. Got me there. And I'm going to draw a larger circle, which will eventually become the arc right here. So I'm going to draw this, and later I'll trim it. Just bring it right back to that end point. Has the same center as a smaller circle. And now with my line tool, I'm going to connect this end point. I'm looking for the tangent symbol, which is a circle with a line next to it. You'll see it pops up in the video right there. Click as soon as you see that. That's Inventor helping you to find the tangent point, which gives you a nice smooth connection between a circle and a line. Okay, the final thing to do here is to get your inside cut out to your diamond. So I'm going to draw my line in to get me started. And then I'm going to angle. So I type in my 1-inch measurement, tab 45. So we get both the distance and the direction specified. So continue on, follow me through here. These are all 1-inch lines. And I'm getting my angles set. Should be a perfect diamond when you get done. And you can delete the original line. Okay, at this point, if your artwork is good, you should be able to extrude at 0.25. Alright, you can save this as parts 18 and 19. And then we'll be ready to start our assembly files coming up. Okay, so this time we're selecting the assembly button, not part. Okay, we're putting together all of the parts that you've made so far using the place tool. Okay, so you have to go back to your folder where you had been saving everything. I have to find the correct folder where I've saved my stuff. That's what I'm doing here. You find your folder wherever that is. Alright, and looking at the directions, I'm just going to start placing the part numbers that are labeled in here. So parts 6, 10, 15, and 9 it looks like are the ones we need. We're not going to do the syringes. You can ignore that part. Okay, once you've got all the parts placed, you can right click and hit OK, and they'll be ready to constrain and join these together. Alright, so now we've got our parts placed and we are starting the sub-base assembly. Okay, you turn on the constrain tool and we're going to be doing several mate flush flushes. So we mate the two faces together. It's like putting glue on a board and gluing it together. And you switch to flush and you get the sides evened up. And you've got to do two flushes, the bottom edges and the side edge. Okay, I'm switching back to mate. I'm going to mate this angled piece there. So now they're stuck together, but they're not flush yet. Switch to flush, flush those two edges, hit apply, and the two bottom edges as well. Okay, so that's what I have so far. And the final constraints, I'm going to use the insert option. I'm going to insert that hole to that hole, hit apply. You can still spin that object, but you want it to sit still. So back to constrain. So using the angle constraint and the center solution, I'm going to pick those two edges and make them 0, which basically makes them parallel to each other. So that was a angle constraint for the last one. I'm going to save this in my folder. You can save it in your own folder. Okay, I'm going to close it. I'll move on to the next assembly. So another assembly file started. I'm going to speed through placing these. You'll need 2 part number 13s. Part 3, part 14, and a part 2. Okay, no syringe needed. If you right click, you can then hit OK and you're done placing. And we're going to begin the mate and flush process again. So press constrain. I'm going to mate this short edge, or excuse me, the long edge to the inside. Now, I know that looks strange. It looks wrong. It's actually okay. I still have to flush the end to the side. Probably placed my 2 part 13s too close together. That's why it looks strange. But after you mate and flush it, things correct themselves. Now I'm going to mate this one over and flush the ends, flush the bottom. Okay, so those are now in place. You then place the dowel using the insert constraint. Insert the end of it right there to the opening. Mine's backwards, so I'm going to flip to the other choice, the other solution. If you zoom in, you'll see I picked the wrong dowel. So if that happens to you, just hit cancel. Try it again with the other one. Insert. And it is intended to go with that opening. And apply. And the bigger dowel goes into the bigger opening. There it is. Okay, go ahead and save that. Okay, another sub-assembly here. This is now we're getting out onto the actual arm. So we're going to need parts 12, part 1, part 11. Part 17 and 18 and 19. Okay, start constraining these parts together again. We'll be using the insert constraint more so on this assembly than other ones because we have round objects fitting into holes. Okay, it's going to follow along and make sure you insert things all the way to the bottom of these openings. And I pick the inside, the end of the hole to put on here. Otherwise it doesn't truly fit. This one gets placed here, which looks wrong, but then you can offset it. That should say 1 inch right there. So put a 1. Okay, if yours goes the wrong direction, put a negative sign in front of 1. It'll make it go the other direction, but mine was a positive one. Okay. Still need 2 pegs, so it looks like I need to go back and get. So I got the pegs now, and I'm ready to do a insert constraint. Insert both of those into the holes. And we'll do an insert constraint to get part 18 and 19, the fingers, onto the pegs. Do a little bit of repositioning your view so you can get at some of the locations that you need to click on. Think about which 2 pieces are going to be coming together and exactly where should you click in order to get that to happen. It takes just a little bit of planning and thought for this to go right. So I insert the first hole onto the peg. The second one needs the same thing done, another insert. Rotate it so you can see underneath there, and it should be okay. Okay, go ahead and save that. Okay, you do not need to do the controller pad with the syringes in it. We'll just go right to the final assembly. We'll place all 3 assemblies in. You also need parts 8, like the base. Part 16, the control pad. And the stopper out there as well. I believe that's part 7. Okay, and we'll start constraining things according to the directions. I'm going to start by putting the control pad onto the base. So that's a mate. Apply, then I'm going to flush it to 2 edges and offset it over the 2.7 and the 1-inch offsets from the sides. So this is a flush. Notice that I picked the wrong thing here, so I'm having to redo something. Like for example, I picked positive 0.27, so I'm going to change it to a negative so it goes the correct direction. And this edge over here should be flush and then offset 1 inch. There we go. So the control pad is correct. Now the stopper, you're going to mate one of the faces onto the edge of the base and flush 2 edges. And this can be offset, looks like 2.5. Try that again. So again, that's a mate. Apply. Flush the end. It helps if you zoom in too, you get a better look at what you're trying to work on. Offset 2.5. Apply, and then we still have to do the bottom edge, bottom face. So that piece is done. Alright, now we'll get the main part of the arm. Sub-assemblies placed. I'm going to constrain, I'm going to mate the bottom of this assembly to the base. So that was a mate. And I still have 2 flushes to go, so I'm going to spin this thing around. Flush these 2. Okay, notice it rotates during the flushing process. And I think I'll offset this 1 inch over. Okay, so that one's good. Now we I have a couple inserts to go. I'll insert all the way to the bottom of the hole. I had the wrong solution, so I flipped it around. Apply. Can still spin on there. That's okay, because that will happen in real life. It's meant to spin. Okay, it looks like I need one more peg. I gotta go back and get, I believe it's part 4. Maybe it's 3. Looks like part 4. I'll place that, and I'll constrain it. Insert. Grab the end, stick it right there. Flip it if you need to. And I'll insert, place that, put there and apply. Okay, and the arm should still rotate. And that is the end of your project right there.